Hello, Jack.
Hi, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks. What did you want to say?
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment on the remarks that some of the previous callers were making. I think it's honestly quite disappointing, and it really does reflect the issues that we've got going on in our own society back in Britain and why nothing really changes. And I think fundamentally it goes down to the fact that people don't seem to understand context or do any sort of research. I've seen the direct footage of the Renee Good situation, and her partner went there looking to obstruct justice, looking to cause issues. You had her partner outside of the car, not inside the car, outside of the car, screaming at Renee Good, saying, "Drive, baby, drive! You've got this!" Pushing her to essentially, you hear her revving her engine, you hear her driving, she's ready to go, and she's driving directly into law enforcement. I mean,
no, she's not. She's turning. They were turning the wheel. No, you saw that? Jack. Was she driving off when they were clearly talking to her? Yes, but she was turning her wheel. She was clearly not about to hit this individual.
I've seen the ICE agent's footage. She's driving directly into him. He's holding a firearm at her because she's obstructing justice. If you obstruct justice in the United States, so
you don't deserve to be shot.
Okay, look, you let everyone else speak who agrees with your opinion, but when it comes, I'm providing an alternative perspective, okay? These people, like that American lady who called in, she doesn't even recognise ICE as law enforcement. These are the opinions that they think they're above the law. They choose who they want to consider law enforcement or not. In the UK, if I think, oh, you know what, I don't agree with the police, I don't agree with Labour, I don't agree with their policies, I'm just going to break all laws and live in anarchy. That's the views that some of these people on the far left have. Her partner, after, was saying, this is all my fault, I'm the one who brought her out here, I was the one who telling her to drive, this is my fault. I've seen her own remarks on the whole situation. Of course the ICE agent's going to fire. He's got a firearm at her because he's telling her to get out of the car, you're obstructing justice, you are committing a crime, okay? She's not doing that. She drives directly into him. Of course, any human being in that situation is going to fire when their life's on the line. And
I think, look, Jack, the problem is, I think it's gaslighting, the idea that she was driving at the individual. She wasn't. And if we focus on the case from yesterday, by the way, we police by consent, certainly in the UK. People, of course, you want them to respect law enforcement, but you have to earn that respect and police by consent in order for people to buy into it. No, but hold on. But Jack, there's a reason why people are sceptical of ICE and not recognising their actions. It's because of instances like we saw play out on the streets of Minneapolis yesterday.
I mean, okay, I can't particularly look. I'm not someone who's going to look on, I haven't looked into the direct evidence of that situation yet. It happened very recently. I heard this story on the radio now, and I wanted to comment on what I know. I'm not going to be like someone who's going to blind-heartedly hear something and be like, oh, and comment on it without knowing all of the details. We don't know enough yet. And this is the same thing that happened with Renee Good. People didn't know enough yet. They started speaking about it, they were outraged, and then all the further details came out. And there are a lot more details that all of these callers and yourself, you're missing the key details. Describing ICE as fuck, these people
Jack, I'm sorry, the key detail is the fact that she was shot. You may think that she acted in a way that she could have, I don't know, handled the situation better. At the end of the day, she's been shot dead.
How do you expect them to react?
To not shoot her. You don't have to...
You don't believe it's self-defence?
There's a difference between self-defence and shooting someone who is posing not a threat. And in both of these cases, I struggle to find... If we saw video footage of them squaring up to an ICE officer and pointing a gun in sort of between their temple or, at their temple, then I'd understand. That's not what we've seen in video footage.
How are you defining the lines of self-defence as someone directly holding a firearm at you? Because
I think if you are going to shoot someone, Jack, you've got to have a bloody good reason for doing so. And in both the videos I've seen, there is not a good enough reason. And yes, fine, I'm not in law enforcement, I appreciate that, but I don't really want a situation where a country that we are very much allied to, a country that we all really should love, you've got a situation where people are scared to go shopping because they're worried about these ICE agents.
Come on, this is honestly ridiculous. Like that lady said, she's scared to go back to America. Nothing's going to happen to her. She's in the country legally.
Respectfully, Jack, she says she's, as an ethnic minority, she's scared, so I wouldn't have you or I tell me how she feels.
I'm an ethnic minority. My dad's a Syrian national. I went to
she feels differently.
I went to Florida 5 months ago, and all this propaganda you hear about how Florida's like you've got to be, it's utter ridiculous.
Well, in your experience, did you go to Minnesota?
It is fear-mongering, and I know it is. And many people,
say that to the family of Alex Pretti or Renee Good.
Say that again, sorry?
You say it's fear-mongering. I'd like to see you say that to the family of those who've had their loved ones shot and killed.
In the case of Renee Good, she came there to cause trouble. She came to obstruct justice, and she didn't want to deal with
You're allowed to protest. You're allowed to protest, Jack.
They're obstructing. There's a difference between protest
and if you disagree, you may agree with what ICE are doing, and that's fine. If you disagree, then you're more than able and legally allowed to make your voice known, and that is what they were doing.
Don't you think it really reflects the kind of character that these people were, where they've got kids, right? The Renee Good had kids. She was a mother. And instead of taking her child to school, she would rather obstruct ICE justice. They're coming here to detain sex offenders and criminals and drug traffickers. They're not here to arrest every day. They're here to arrest criminals.
People are entitled to disagree with it. People are entitled to disagree with it. I wouldn't have you lecturing someone on if she's a good mother or not. We know nothing about her.
But I'm saying it reflects. I'm saying that if you look at the context,
Jack,
it reflects.
People are allowed to protest. You may disagree with it, but if people want to spend their...
I agree, but it's not protesting when it's obstruction of justice, when it's the obstruction of arrest.
Yes, and if people go beyond the line of protest, and there's a way of dealing with them that is not just shooting them. Surely you can see that. This should be an absolute last resort.
I understand that, but when someone is revving their engine and driving directly into you, unfortunately, sometimes humans react in ways that people would conceive not necessarily the correct thing to do. It's a moral question. I 100% agree. I feel bad that she's died. I feel bad for her family. I think it's terrible what's happened. But to put the blame on that ICE agent, I think is also incredibly wrong, because he was put in a situation. It was relatively life or death. You've got to think like this person. Adrenaline is running through his body. He's being driven into. Well, he has a firearm on his hands because he is here to detain criminals, and she's obstructing justice. Okay, that is his job. That is the duty.
Still
that he's
doesn't
been
mean
given.
she should have been shot, and I think it comes from the top, really, doesn't it? And these are, in some cases, some ICE agents very highly qualified. You know, they know what they're doing in terms of law enforcement. Well, this comes from the top, and when you've got the Kristi Noem from the Department of Homeland Security, Donald Trump, labelling people as domestic terrorists willy-nilly. If this individual, Alex Pretti, was a domestic terrorist, what does that make the President of the United States, who's sanctioning killing people on the streets? Thank you, Jack.